So many hands, one heart. And this month we are embarking on an amazing month of discovery as we share the love felt within the walls of the Center for Spiritual Living, Modesto, the light of our individual hearts illuminating the Center for Spiritual Living, Modesto, in our community and beyond, and the spiritual truth that we are simply here to let God be God in us. And for those of us who are for those who are new to religious science this morning, and for the rest of us who enjoy those reminders that I like to do occasionally, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes from our founder, Ernest Holmes, about where our teachings came from. And this is something I'm going to put on our website because I think this just is truly it just encapsulates it all. The philosophy of religious science is nothing new to the world. It is rather a synthesis of the greatest concepts that have ever come to the mind of man. The law of Moses, the love of Christ, the ethics of Buddha, the morals of Confucius, and the deep realizations of the Hindus, the mystical revelations of the saints of the Middle Ages, the laws and parallels and compensation of Emerson, the logic of Kant, the spirituality of Swedenborg, the beauty of Browning, and the wide universal sweep of Walt Whitman all find an exalted place in the philosophy of religious science. I have never had a revelation, final or otherwise, and the knowledge that I've acquired was here on earth when I arrived and will be available after I've shuffled off. Wherever you find truth, it belongs to everybody. Isn't that beautiful? One definition of religious science that I like also is a blending of Eastern and Western spiritual paths that support us in, one, having an intimate relationship with the God of our being, two, taking full and complete responsibility for our own lives, and three, living our dreams. So I want to ask, who is here today because at some point in your life, whether it's this week or 10 or 20 or 30 years ago, a friend invited you to attend this or another spiritual community?
Well, she's been there all of them.
Yeah. I think that's pretty impressive. So if this teaching has made a positive impact on your life, and I'm going to assume that it has, do you know of someone that you could invite to join us on Sundays that might benefit from what we celebrate here? And if so, invite them. This is too good to hold on to and not share. You know, I think I tend to get really excited about just about anything that's going really great in my life, whether I found a really good cookie recipe or something, and I just want to share it with everyone. And right now, everyone's enjoying my chocolate cake experiments. I'm trying to find and perfect the best chocolate cake possible. So, yeah. So you may be getting chocolate cake soon. Yeah. So yes.
The person that turned me on to this church was one of my best friends and my mentor, this gentleman named Don Klein. He was an actor in Hollywood. He was in like The Fugitive, and he was like in Gun Will Travel, you know, and Bonanza. And
really?
And he was actually doing Reiki, and we were doing some Reiki. He was doing some Reiki healing on me and stuff.
Ah.
And he's, and I was like, I told him about my spiritual beliefs, and he goes, "Why don't you try the Gappy Church, right?" And I looked into it, and that's how I found,
you found this teaching through that. Yeah, it's amazing how we all, our paths are all different, and yet we end up. It's fun. So, for the past 3 weeks, we've explored the idea of living without fear, and we have done, don't you think, the last few weeks, some very powerful work together. And today, we're going to expand the idea of fearlessly being all we came here to be by looking at this deep spiritual truth. And this is the truth that we're going to look at today. In order for us to be all we came here to be, we need one another. We cannot go it alone. We were put here on this earth together to do great things together. This is inherent in who we are and what we are made of. We are made out of the same spiritual stuff, that God stuff, that divine cosmic stuff, right? God stuff. We may have many hands, but there is only one heart. So say with me, if you will, we have many hands, but only one heart.
We
have many hands, but only one heart. There's a story of an old African king who is dying. He calls his children, their husbands, wives, and relatives to his side and gives each of them a short, sturdy stick. Break the stick, he instructs them. For some of them, this is fairly easy. For others, it's a bit harder. But eventually, they all break the sticks in half. This is how it is when a soul goes it alone in this world. They can all be broken, said the elder. Next, the old man gives each of them another stick and some twine. And he says, now bind your sticks together in bundles of 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, and break these bundles in half. And as you might imagine, no one could break the bundles, not even the bundles with just 2 sticks. Upon seeing this, the old man smiled and said, we are strong when we stand with another soul. When we are with another, we cannot be broken. This is how I would like you to live after I am gone. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful story? We are strong when we stand with another soul. When we are with another, we cannot be broken. Not only are we individually strong when we stand together in truth, community is necessary for us to be able to fulfill our purpose here on earth. We need one another to enhance God's experience of loving itself. I believe there can be no greater place to stand together than in a spiritual community. Why do you think I've been doing this for the past 30 plus years? I haven't been a minister for 30, but I have been a member of a spiritual community since 1977, I think. And that was my stepmother who brought me to hear Terry Cole Whitaker and Dr. Don McGart, who was also an actor, which I find interesting too. Yeah, he did that Mustang commercial. He was the kid that got sand kicked on him at the beach, but then he drove up in a Mustang and he got the girl. So he was very proud of that. So what is it that makes a community a spiritual one? Because that concept is much bigger than the concept of church, don't you think? A spiritual community. In Eastern teachings, spiritual community is referred to as Sangha. Sangha is a community of individuals dedicated to creating and sustaining an environment that nurtures and supports reverence, mindfulness, and spirituality as a lifestyle. It's not just something we do on Sundays. You don't just get the message and then go back to your regular lives, regular programming, right? One of the primary elements created in Sangha is a feeling of safety for those involved, and we often say here that this is a safe place. Each person is respected, accepted, and loved as they are. It's a safe place to be who you are. It's an environment where individual creativity is incubated and authentic self-expression is encouraged. It's a place where your greatness is believed in. In Sangha, the elements of joy and seva is selfless service to others, are present. In such an environment, it's amazing to witness others unfold in their own unique spiritual nature with grace, elegance, and ease, in their own time and in their own space. This is true spiritual community, true Sangha. This is a good place to be, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It feels good. In his book, The Art of Being, by Dennis Merritt Jones, who's read that book? Yes.
What is it?
The Art of Being.
Yeah.
Dennis Merritt Jones. We did a class. On it. Yes, you read it.
Okay.
He says Sangha is not a building. It is a collective. It is a consciousness held by a collective group that welcomes, celebrates, and honors you just the way you are. You'll know it because it's as if you have walked into a wall of love, immersing you in the most amazing way. I believe I have shared the following quote before, but it is so incredibly perfect for today, I have to share it again. And it's from Starhawk in her book, Dreaming the Dark, and it's another way of describing Sangha. She says, somewhere, there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere, a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing, a circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free. And one more beautiful statement about Sangha, this time from our Ernest Holmes, in Can We Talk to God, he says, there is something in us that longs for the sympathetic understanding, the kindly response, the sense of presence, which is warm, pulsating, and colorful. We must have it, and I sense that as we meet each other in love and friendship, in the warmth of a handshake and in good fellowship, it is God. What else could it be? The hand that gives is the hand of God, and the eye that sees is the eye of God. In each other, through each other, we contact God. So this is just utopia, isn't it? Right here. This is the Garden of Eden stuff, right? And when we are in spiritual community, we live in this space all the time. All the time, all of us, right? Do we live in it all of the time? Well,
I
not
stay here
really.
all the time.
Yeah, if we stay there. But why the heck not? How come we're not living in this space all the time? How come we can't master that?
Well, you can come home with me.
As I was prayerfully contemplating this, doing my meditation, thinking, okay, why is this? Why do we walk out of this inspiring place and go into the real world and have things drop away? Why does this happen? Because I know it happens to me too. And I was looking what's going on in my life right now, in the life of our spiritual community, because I often take my message clues from this. I see a human behavior that we all engage in to some degree or another that can knock us out of our Sangha consciousness quicker than greased lightning. So I was trying to figure out, what was it? Why does this happen? What is the common barrier to experiencing this beautiful paradise that I've just described? What happens? Well, it was spoken about in Don Miguel Ruiz's life-changing book, The Four Agreements, which we also did a class on the Four Agreements, and I quote often. And in fact, it's one of the agreements he suggests we make with ourselves in order to live in what he calls white magic from the Toltec tradition. He defines white magic as the place of creating, giving, sharing, and loving. And that sounds a lot like Sangha to me. Of course, when you're reading these books, you kind of see that thread of truth that goes through each and every one of them. And this agreement that he's talking about in the Four Agreements is the agreement not to make assumptions. Who's guilty of making assumptions? Oh my gosh. We have a tendency to make assumptions about most everything, don't we? The problem with making them is that once we've made them, then we believe them. Oh my gosh, I've assumed this, so now it has to be true. We are absolutely positive that they are real. And then we emotionally respond according to them. So Ruiz says, and this is something that's very interesting, it is very interesting how the human mind works. We have the need to justify everything, to explain and understand everything in order to feel safe. We have millions of questions that need answers. It is not important if the answer is correct, just the answer itself makes us feel safe. That is why we make assumptions. If others tell us something, we make assumptions, and if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and replace the need to communicate. Even if we hear something and don't understand, we make assumptions about what it means and then believe the assumptions. We make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask questions. And of course, the way to stop this behavior that really messes up Sangha is really very, very simple. It's to simply ask, to make sure that the communication is clear. If you don't ask, you don't understand. Have the courage to ask questions until you are as clear as you can be. And even then, do not assume that you know all there is to know about the given situation. And while I agree with all of that completely and totally, there are deeper assumptions that we need to question as well. And those are the assumptions we make about ourselves that cause us to make assumptions about others. Those are the questions that we really need to question, right? So is there anyone that has a personal story? Because I talk and share my experiences. Do you have a time when you had a personal assumption that you want to share that turned out to be completely the opposite of what you assumed?
I've got tons of them. I just can't remember them right now.
Oh, I know. Well, why don't we go with...
Well, what I'm trying to do is not make assumptions. A friend of mine gave me an analogy just this week, and she said, just drive one car.
Oh.
Just your car. Just drive your car.
Don't try to drive everybody
try to
else's
drive
cars.
somebody else's car. Quit assuming about somebody else. Just drive your car. Just
Beautiful.
stay with your yourself, your growth.
Beautiful.
And then I think that will, you know, how you're handling your life is a better, for lack of a better word, testimony than driving somebody else's car.
Mhm.
Well, and you keep
So
your
until
energy
you drive
focused.
your car right.
Yeah.
Don't try to tell somebody else how to drive their car.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one. And you had something, Derek?
I've been in a position where it's like I'll see someone and I don't know, I guess someone in my past or something did me, you know, wrong or so they kind of look like that person. So sometimes I'll like go, I don't like that person, you know, when I first see him and stuff.
Mm-hmm. You just
And
make
then
a
what's-
judgment.
Mm-hmm. And what's funny is a lot of times those people turn out to be like my best friends.
Your
and
best
stuff.
friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had experiences like that too. We'll make assumptions.
Yeah, you know, regarding assumptions, like you're speaking about what gets us out of our spiritual place, I don't remember the exact phrase. I think for me, it's when you make assumptions or judgments, then you're right immediately out of that spiritual place. You're thinking something about someone else, a
Mm-hmm.
situation without knowing anything about it. So you're just, for me, that disconnects me immediately because I'm focusing on something else that's none of my business.
Well, and our minds are so creative, and we go forward and jumping, and we're creating all these scenarios. And you know what? It takes us out of the present moment.
Right.
And the present moment is the only moment where we have any power.
If we're stubborn and don't change our minds, you know, have a hard time changing our minds. Once we get stuck on it,
Yeah, because then we believe it.
it's hard
So,
to change our minds.
Yeah, you know, it can be something as simple as somebody calling up and saying, I can't do something I agreed to do. And they don't give you a reason. And so when they don't give you a reason, then you kind of start making up reasons.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, it's because they don't like me, or it's because, you know, they did. I do it all the time. And so it's a good thing to be aware of. And just drive your car.
Yeah.
Just drive your
That
car.
was good. Yeah.
By assumptions, I was coming home from your place the other night, and it was dusk, and there was a car coming straight for me in my lane. He was passing another car, he was in my lane. There's no place for me to go. And like, it flashed my brain. I knew I was gonna be hit. I said, I hope that Chris and Rich know it wasn't my fault. I know that's ridiculous, but that's what was going through my mind. I do want to be at fault. And then as soon as I thought that, I thought, no, I'm assuming I'm going to be hit. I'm not going to be hit. And he just swerved at the last instant.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow. Powerful. Very powerful. Whew. Well, Holmes.
Glad you're here.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're glad you're here. Dr. Holmes writes in The Words That Heal Today, we reach God in others by reaching out from God within the self. Always the God in others will respond to the God in us, but never beyond the level of our inward spiritual awareness. It has to begin with us. We can't say, show me your God and I'll show you mine. No, it has to start with us. And then we'll have the response in everyone that we meet. It's like I say, when we allow our God light to shine, we give others permissions to allow their God light to shine too. So we ask ourselves, what belief am I holding about myself that causes me to make that assumption about another? And then we realize that the belief is also an assumption that we have named true. If we can move into the habit of immediately questioning not only the surface assumptions we make, but also the assumptions underlying the assumptions, we will move into in entirely new directions. Our relationship with ourselves and then with others will be truly transformed, and you will have the ability to create Sangha, which is spiritual community. So it's one thing to speak in theoretical terms of the power of Sangha. It's another thing to share an experience of it. I want to invite someone who knows, who's had the experience of it, of being, the power of being in a spiritual community. Suzanne's going to share with us.
Oh, yes, no, definitely. We started what book club about 12 years ago.
In 2004. 2004.
Geez. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and then so that was gathering at Reverend Chris's house
Mhm.
every week, and what a big difference! The middle of the week to just kind of give you that extra incentive or extra, you know, happiness to go along. And then we started the center in 2009, and just coming here on Sundays, it's just beautiful. It makes Mondays just so much more, you know, livable to wake up to. So Sunday's a wonderful day, and then we have our midweek stuff, and I even think when I was on vacation, I just missed it. I just miss the community here and being hands-on and helping and, you know, volunteering and coming up with, you know, new things to do. And it's a big part of my life.
And well, I would say
really
that,
enjoy
that
it.
Suzanne is truly one of, you know, the heartbeats of this spiritual community, and as are each and every one of you. And we each contribute in our own ways, and hopefully take what we need, you know, which is
So
wonderful.
I was on vacation. I was a little homesick.
Well, good. Welcome home. Welcome
She met
home.
Reverend Chris and I at midnight in Ecuador time.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She was giving us instructions from Ecuador. I love it. So, anyway, all right. So let me end with this beautiful Hopi elder's prophecy, and it goes like this: To my fellow swimmers, life is a river flowing now very fast. It is so great and swift, and there are those who will be afraid, who will try to hold on to the shore. They are being torn apart, and we will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination, and all is well. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, swim and keep our heads above the water. And I say, see who is there with you and celebrate. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves, banish the word struggle from your attitude and vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. For we are the ones we have been waiting for. And so it is.